Hey, it's Joshua here with another edition of Mortgage Clarity, and Michael Krasilovsky with Remax Integrity.
Hello.
Corvallis, Oregon is back with me. We just did a video here last week about, does a pre-approval letter, who's on that letter, does it make a difference? But we got to talking, and we started talking about, well, what are other things that a buyer might want to do to get their offer accepted? Because again, this video is about for everybody from East Coast to West Coast, so we're trying to provide some meaningful information. So. Again, Michael, does a lot of listing. He sees a lot of transactions. Been in the industry over 8 years, and so this is a crazy market. Multiple offer, and I know that's not just unique to our climate.
Absolutely,
it's all over the place. Inventory is abysmal, and so besides having a great lender and a team, the realtor, what are some things that a buyer might be wanting to see if the agents are working with is maybe put it in their offer to make it stand out and get accepted? So really quick, what are some key things that they can do?
So we've got the established foundation, the base of having a great local lender, having a great local realtor as an assumption. So in the process of that, there's a lot of communication that goes on behind the scenes. So the realtor, for example, is going to be coordinating with the seller's agent if we're talking about how to get your offer accepted, and asking the right questions about, hey, what do the sellers need? What do they need in terms of closing time frames? Do they need what we call occupancy after close, a rent back, that sort of thing? Are they willing to look at certain clauses in terms of how the price is going to work, like an escalation clause, kind of like a silent auction? Appraisal gap coverage is really big, and that's an important conversation to be having with
so really
your
quick,
lender.
Can you maybe explain what an escalation clause is and how that might work?
Sure. So an escalation clause, I write a lot of escalation clauses in offers for my buyers here, and it's a way of saying that we love this house, we know it's a competitive situation, and so an escalation clause usually starts above the asking price anyway in the first place, right? If a house is listed for $500K, maybe we're saying, hey, we know there's multiple offers, we'll start at $515K, but we'll beat competing offers by maybe a few $1,000s up to $530K. That's our max.
Okay.
It's kind of like a silent auction that's selling the house, and that's a really great tool, I would say, to use in offers. As long as your realtor has talked with the other realtor and said, hey, are your sellers okay with this sort of thing?
So it's a quick way for a borrower to give a strong offer.
Yeah.
Oddly enough, not your best offer, because you are telling the seller you're willing to pay more, but you're acknowledging, hey, I'm already paying more than you asked, but it's a tough market. So I'm going to give you a good offer if you force me to, but that has a clause that they have to actually produce another offer that showed that somebody else was trying to do that.
That's a good point.
So it doesn't necessarily, so you do have a cap, they do have to provide evidence, so it's a way for you to get them to get a good deal and you to get a good deal without having to just go all in blind and maybe way overpay. Okay, so escalation clause. And then you said the other one's appraisal gap coverage, what's that?
Appraisal gap coverage is super important because there's a lot of things that end up being a tiebreaker, between first place and second place. I mean, everyone's prices often end up being neck and neck, not always, but often. And so then it comes down to all these other things, like, do they have a great lender that we can trust? And we're underlying assumption, that's part of it. But what about things like appraisal gap coverage? We know that prices are going up. It's an upward trending market. It's a seller's market here and in most places. And so what that means is that it can be challenging for the appraiser to put their stamp of approval on the purchase price because they are restricted to using comparable sales that sold in the past, let's say in the past 6 months. But 6 months ago, or even a few months ago, prices weren't as high as they are now for the home that this buyer is trying to get. So the appraiser, in good faith, is making adjustments based on time that's gone by, based on condition, all kinds of stuff. But they don't always have the ability to make enough adjustments to be able to demonstrate, yes, it's worth what you're paying for it.
Right.
Sometimes that appraised value falls short.
Okay.
And so if a buyer is coordinating with their realtor and their lender to be able to put appraisal gap coverage in the offer, then they're saying something to the effect of, hey sellers, we know it's competitive, here's our max price, but if the appraisal falls short, we'll cover the difference in cash up to $5K, $10K, $50K, whatever that number is, to still close the purchase anyway. And that's a really important tiebreaker.
So that's a good way for the buyer to give confidence to the seller, because while the seller loves the fact that they're getting all these offers, in the back of their mind, they're thinking, well, what happens if it doesn't appraise?
The seller's worried.
And so you're saying, hey, look, I'll give you some guarantee that even if it comes in $30,000 less than the offer I just gave you, it's not going to stop me. I can proceed. Okay.
Right.
Okay. So we have appraisal gap coverage as a good option. We have talking to the seller about. I think you mentioned about timing, because I think some people make the assumption that if we give an offer a fast close, that makes my deal better. Well, not if they need a long close, because they're still trying to identify a future house to buy, or they got to move. So again, don't make the assumption they want to close in 18 days. You might reach out to do that. Okay, so timing, shorter close, renting back if they need to do that for a little bit, appraisal gap coverage. What are some other things that are maybe around like the house and inspections and stuff? I see that kind of come up quite a bit.
So, a lot of the offers that I write for buyers and a lot of the offers that my sellers receive in our market are as is. They're promising no repairs. And I feel fortunate that even though our market is really, really challenging, it's not as bad as some of the bigger cities where I hear buyers, agents saying that they're waiving the inspection entirely. In our area, I know, I really worry about that. Yeah. Most of the offers that we see, the buyer still maintains the inspection contingency. They get to do an inspection, but they're saying, we're pretty confident this is going to be okay, and we're promising no repairs or further financial negotiations anyway. Right. We just want to make sure there's nothing completely catastrophic and unforeseen. Right. I usually use verbiage like that with my buyers.
I get very nervous anytime I have a buyer who doesn't want to get a home inspection. Yeah. Look, if you're thinking that, hey, my offer accepted, I'll just waive the inspections, then you're basically saying you're willing to take the house as is. Fine, take the house as is, but get an inspection so you know what the as is. And
it's a good way to put it.
And so again, like he was saying, you can do an inspection. I want the inspection. I won't make a contingent upon repairs, but if it's catastrophic, I'm walking away. So you protect your earnest money.
It's about protecting the earnest money.
That's really what it's about. So you tell them, hey, again, I get in there, foundation's falling apart. Well, I didn't know that. I'm out, and you're still good.
And sometimes that's exactly what happens, right? I mean, we never pretend to be home inspectors when we're looking at homes, with our buyers. So we write a strong offer, and we know what to expect often. If it's an older house, it's not a surprise if it's got older plumbing, stuff like that. But having older plumbing is different than, whoa, now that we're having someone in the crawl space, it turns out the plumbing is catastrophically leaking and there's massive issues. Those are different things. It's good to know.
Yeah. Okay, great. So what about, are there any other types of things that maybe go into a contract that make it more favorable? Or what about maybe things an agent might be able to, or a buyer might be able to do that's not about the contract, but can still maybe help get you a real good look? Okay,
so let me think about that. I would say a lot of this really just comes down to the fundamentals of communication to make sure that, you're serving your clients well. There's so many simple phone calls that are worth their weight in gold. I mean, just making sure that the agents are, your representative, your agent is talking with the other agent to make sure that we've got questions answered, that we're all on the same page about these timeframes, inclusions, explaining escalation clauses if applicable, explaining appraisal gap coverage if applicable, explaining what the lender's doing, because sometimes there's outstanding programs that not everyone has access to. So if a file's pre-underwritten, explaining what that means so that you can help get your buyer's offer presented in the best light possible and therefore accepted. And just some basic follow-up too, which not everyone does. In a fast-paced market like this, realtors are frantic. They're working late nights and weekends all the time. Sometimes, as a seller's agent, I'll just get a DocuSign directly from the signature system. Here's an offer. No explanation whatsoever.
Just read it and find out. Yeah.
Like instead of doing that whenever possible, make sure that your agent is, sending a nice formal email, because it sets a tone for communication expectations and professionalism, which helps the buyer, to say, hey, here's a certain number of PDFs attached, here's some of the highlights of it, and then following that up with a phone call or at least a text to say, hey, I just sent you the offer, please confirm successful receipt, that sort of thing. Because we all know that there's, weird stories out there where an agent thought they had submitted an offer to someone and the other person didn't see it or didn't get it. There's a typo or it ended up in their spam folder. You don't want that costing someone their house.
That's huge right there, yeah. So basically, it's not just about putting together a well-written offer, it's about presenting a well-written offer. I think is what you're saying.
That's a good way to put it.
And too many people sometimes just figure out, hey, that's a good offer, just send it over to get accepted. And you're saying, no, make sure it got received, reach out, call the agent, because you know what? They might look at that and go, well, actually, I have some questions of clarification, and you can do that.
Often.
And so that's another thing. So I'm just going to recap, and actually, I'll just put one more thing that we do to try to help our clients with the pre-approval letter.
Definitely.
Is I do a video just use a quick little video. I just sent it along with my pre-approval letter, introducing myself as the lender so that they know that I'm local, they can see me. It just helps build trust with somebody on the other side who doesn't know me.
It builds rapport. And demonstrates professionalism.
Right.
Absolutely.
Right. So a really quick recap. So here's the things you can do to help your offer get accepted without necessarily having to give the highest price, because we all want to save if we can. So it is reach out and find out what the seller's wants and needs are. It might be a quick close, it might be a short close. If it's possible and you're in a position to do so, offer escalation clauses where you can come in over their asking price, kind of where you want it, but also let them know you're willing to go higher if you need to. Then you have your appraisal gap coverage. If you're in a position again to where you're offering over asking price, to let the seller know that even though you're doing that, you're in a position to go ahead and cover that. That gives them reassurance that when the appraisal comes in, because it could come in short, this is something everybody's worried about, that you're in a position to be able to recover that. If possible, you can maybe reduce the amount of information around inspections. Either, hey, I won't ask for any repairs that don't cost more than $3,000 or cost less than $3,000, or I won't ask for any repairs at all. But no matter what, we do recommend you get a home inspection, even if you're not gonna make it contingent. And then I think to end up with, make sure the agent, after they write that great offer, follows up, reaches out to the agent to offer any clarifying questions that they might have. So there you go. Those are some just different tips. Apologize if the video went long, but I think it's important to know these tips because, again, it is a crazy market out there, and we want to help you guys do the best you can to get your home. If you have any questions, please let us know. If you like this video, hit the like button, subscribe, and feel free to share as well. All right, thank you very much. Until next time on Mortgage Clarity, have a great day.
Bye for now.